Welcome to DNN, because somebody has to. I'm Jack, and I'm here with Travis and Melody, and we started the Doomers News Network because the financial media has devolved into little more than a cheerleading section for the establishment financial system. Instead of their mandate of telling the truth about what's really going on in finance so that people can be better informed, all they're really doing is constantly reassuring everybody that everything's fine, even at times when things aren't. And any information to the contrary is being labeled as doom, and anybody who talks about it is being called a doomer. And well, we've decided to embrace that moniker and wear it right there proudly. So we are the Doomers News Network, or DNN. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my buddy Travis, who's going to be driving us this morning.
All right, guys, so I'm going to start with a story. That somebody today is going to be me. What we're going to talk about is the housing market crash being here and basically what to look for as far as data. Now, I do want to make it clear. Remember, when it comes to the housing market, things are super hyper local. In fact, you don't really want to look at median. If you really want to understand what's going on in your local market, if you really want to understand value, understand you need to do subdivision analysis. Everything else that we look at, guys, is just a general idea of what's going on. But when we look at just median sales price can compare hypothetically a crack house to a mansion. And that's why you have to go so hyper local that you're only in a subdivision, or rather it's called a neighborhood. But what we're going to go today, guys, is we're really going to talk about, how Congress and the Federal Reserve has basically robbed America of the home, the dream of home ownership. It's been an absolute bloodbath. So this is where we're going to start. Let me throw this up on the screen here. And if you guys can be just a little bit merciful with me. Now, all I'm going to do, guys, and what's going to happen is at the end of me reporting this, Melody and Jack are going to kind of have a back and forth conversation with me about the data I'm presenting. But I want you guys to also know, as viewers, and we appreciate you guys joining us, we will bring up your comments at the end of each story. The total amount of stories we're going to do today is 6. Now, the name of this article is "Home Prices Hit Another Record High, Pushing Pending Sales Down 4%. Now, I'm only going to read the top paragraph and the last paragraph because Redfin is overly optimistic and often foolish. Now, first of all, you guys, the name of the article, again, "Home Prices Hit Another Record." This is May 23rd of 2024. The first thing I want to do is, basically talk about the narrative. As you guys see here, here's another Redfin article that came out June 23rd of 2022. So almost 2 years ago. All right, Redfin had a higher record. The higher record 2 years ago was almost 400,000. You guys see that right here. So already what I'm trying to explain to you guys is you got to be careful of the narrative you're listening to, because the system is designed to continue to get you to spend. I almost said our entire, I forgot the government deficit spending, but 78 to 70% of GDP is consumer spending. So we have a spending problem in America, and the corporations want you to continue to spend to the end because that's what makes them money. It's really easy to understand. But this starts out, okay, prices keep rising because this spring's inventory is lower than usual. The silver of good news for buyers is that mortgage rates have declined slightly. Now, if you guys think that's good news, it's not, because interest rates are still over 7% and the prices are still high, although we have seen prices decline in many metro areas, specifically around Texas. We are starting to see that in Florida as well. Now, here's Redfin's overly optimistic paragraph. They usually end in over optimism. Let's see how they're ending this week. Now, move up buyers feel stuck because they're ready for their next house, but it just doesn't make financial sense to sell your current interest rate so high. Okay, and what I want to explain here is essentially, if you purchased a home prior to quantitative tightening, you lost 30 to 40% of purchasing power as well. So the point of this article is basically saying that the pre-quantitative tightening, specifically homeowners, are locked into their house. But I also want to explain to the viewers that they're experiencing a form of payment shock as well. And the more time that goes on, the more incentive it is for them to sell. The type of payment shock existing, not all, but many, especially in hurricane areas, the California areas, is they see property taxes skyrocketing. At least in my own metro area, property taxes skyrocketing. On top of that, homeowners insurance, and depending where you're at, homeowners insurance is a very major problem. But another thing that people aren't talking about is these past homeowners, the new debt. a lot of them potentially have new debt, especially cars. So they may have taken that low mortgage payment and replaced it with a new debt payment. So they're not out of the woods is what I'm trying to explain. But this goes on. The homeowners listing right now are often doing so because they need to. Right? They need to, they're forced perhaps. One of my clients is selling because of a family emergency. And you guys remember, forced selling happens every single year. Right now, though, there's just enough demand to absorb the forced selling on a nationwide average in existing homes that it hasn't had a crippling effect on prices. However, we see that with new homes. New homes, the builders, remember you guys, the builders are forced sellers. Now they're saying family emergencies. They're also saying another couple is selling because they had a baby and simply don't have enough room, so they want to move up. All right, now let's go on to the leading indicators just for the sake of time. And here's where I want to show you guys where we're at as far as interest rates. Now, remember, when we compare to where we were at last year and even 2019, home buyers right now are in a worse position. You're worse off, again, unless you're using the data to find a deal. If you're using a data to find a wedge, to find cash flow, if you're actually doing your homework, then maybe you're winning. And again, to the viewers, some of the viewers that I have on my other channel, I know people that purchased at 2022 in San Diego. His name is House Hacker. He got a great deal. The man did his homework. And so I don't want anyone to get stuck in a narrative, although the house market's going to crash. The assets, in my opinion, I have no doubt it's going to devalue. It already is. Many metro areas, but I'm talking about nationwide average. Now, anyways, you guys, here's one of the primary reasons: demand. I mean, demand is absolutely crippled. You guys see here that mortgage purchase application down 11%. That's year over year. You guys see home buying demand is also down 11% year over year. So in the metro areas, you see inventory growth exploding. So you see, again, demand is not keeping pace with inventory in many metros. Some metros are still tight. Now, one of the things is as well, I wanted to show you guys the existing home sales. Now, this is only to February, unfortunately, but home sales have gone down from January to February. We're under 4 million. This is an annualized rate. I'm looking forward to this updating. But on top of that, when we go to Mortgage News Daily and we look at mortgage purchase applications, we also see that going down. So really what I'm kind of trying to say is, even though the rates are going down, guys, the mortgage purchase application, you guys can see, I guess it did go up slightly, but it's pretty much balanced. The reason I want to make a point of that is the rates are killing purchasing power. We don't even need unemployment right now because purchasing power is crippled. So the purchasing power being crippled right now, as far as the housing market, is just as strong as unemployment from the buyer's standpoint. From the seller's standpoint, no. Once unemployment happens, once layoffs happens, then it's going to hit the sellers. Now let's move on real quick. Obviously, Google Home search is down 18%. I got about 2 minutes to present. A couple things I wanted to point out as far as their leading metros. So here's the top winners and losers of this week, guys. The winning metro areas as far as year over year price increases is Anaheim sitting at an increase of 20%, Detroit 16, San Jose 12, Oakland 12. So a lot of California in there, West Palm Beach 12. You only have 2 metro areas according to this set of data on the year over year decline list. Both are Texas metro areas. Remember, you guys, Texas is heavy on new home building. New home building, in my opinion, is leading the way in the housing market turbulence. But San Antonio is sitting at 1% year over year loss, Fort Worth 0.6%. And again, you guys, I'm in Texas, so I have front row center on what's going on exactly. Now, here's median sales price. Now, real quick, here's what I want to explain as far as median sales price for the viewers. Median sales price gives us an idea of what's going on. It is not the way to determine how value is created. To determine how value is created, you guys have to do something like this. This is an appraisal. An appraisal looks at comparable data in a subject property subdivision. So you would have your subject property here on the left, and then you would get 1, 2, 3 comparables in that property's subdivision. Okay, so again, median sales price is not a good way to get an accurate idea of what's going on. And then one of the reasons is here as well. What's happening here, you guys, as far as median sales prices is the higher end houses, they're selling more. So the fact that the higher end of the median, there's more of that selling, it's showing median going up. Because again, the higher end of the median is blowing up. It's surging still, but the lower end is not. You see that here when we look at homes. Okay, first of all, this is purchase applications. So this is people getting a loan, essentially. This is comparing year-to-date 2024 to year-to-date 2023. You guys see over $1 million loans, purchase applications, It's a 63% increase. 900 to a million, 47%. 800 to 900, 22%. So it is top heavy. That's the point I'm trying to make. But nevertheless, again, according to Redfin, they're saying, I didn't say it. I said they changed it. They manipulated the data. But according to Redfin, we have a new record. You see that right here. Now, also something that's interesting is the median asking price. We started to lose momentum on a nationwide average as far as median asking price. That's shifted. So median asking price has shifted. It is going up again. Again, that could be the higher end homes being listed. If the rich still have money, they will list their homes and they will buy others. I believe that's what we're saying, because this right here is kind of breaking seasonality. It's exploding. So to me, that's a probability of why that's happening, a high probability actually. Now, home buying mortgage payments, this is crippling people, you guys. Home buying mortgage payments is at it's hard for me to say this. I need a drink of water. I almost threw up on myself. That would have been horrible on the first live. Mortgage payments this is the average. I'm not talking about rich people. I'm just talking about the average payment, you guys. This is a rich person's payment. The average payment is $2,854. I want you guys to understand that just 3 years ago, mortgage payments were about $1,650 3 years ago. So if you want to buy a house right now, understand that you are paying the most amount of interest and price than anyone else has in the entire world. I'm sorry, in the entire U.S. establishment when it's, from the very beginning of the U.S. So if you're going to do it, you're going to still buy. Buy smart, buy right, cushion yourself, find something with a wedge and cash flow. And I'm going to tell you guys that it's very hard to find. So do not hold your breath. But there are still fighters out there that, again, with a lot of research and a lot of patience and preparation, they are finding decent deals. Now, here's pending sales. Again, pending sales is down. We have less demand, more supply. It's a matter of time before prices start to go down as well. Let me keep going. New listings are up, but we don't have the growth that we want. That's okay, though. Again, we want more new listings coming to the market. It is up year over year. Now, active inventory, here's the beautiful thing. We're finally at 900,000. I've been telling people we need to get to 900,000 and then we need to sustain. So we finally hit 900,000. As long as we sustained, again, that's going to be more pressure on prices going down. We also see inventory as far as supply going up as well. So again, demand is crashing. Inventory is shooting up. Prices will go down. And we see that right here. Let me just go down here real quick. Price cuts. Price cuts are huge. The price cuts led the 2022 deflation in the housing market. We had deflation in the housing market in 2022. As you can see here by this red line, that was led by price cuts. What I want to explain to the people and why I'm saying that the housing market crash has started again, it start, stop, is because of this. The price cuts are ahead of schedule by 2 months, which means the price cuts we're having right now are as strong as it was in 2022, but 2 months prior. So we are ahead of schedule for trends we need to see to have deflation in the housing market. And if you look again, price cuts. Okay, that's one thing. Now let me get you guys the last thing. Redfin Home Buying Demand Index, you guys see as well, we have a 4-year low as far as demand for this time of year. I mean, in other words, guys, it's very hard for me to be optimistic about the housing market. I think I want to get you, we'll take some comments here. I want to hear from you guys, but I think, from interviewing some bulls, I did an interview with Joe. It wasn't a debate. All right, people are like, oh, you lost the debate. I was like, it wasn't a debate. What did I lose? I lost your respect. That sucks. So that part sucked. And I also did a debate and people were like, you interrupted him. It was an argument. I'm like, I just can't win here. But I'm going to tell you this. The biggest holes in the argument of the bulls on why house prices won't crash, okay, they keep missing income growth. They don't care about income growth. And I'm like, well, how will people pay? Income growth is so important. My God, how do you miss that? The second thing that the bulls keep getting wrong, they don't care about inventory. They're like, inventory doesn't matter. But their whole premise to prices going up and stabilizing is inventory. So it's like you gotta pick one or the other, right? Income's important, inventory is important. The bulls don't get it. What do you guys think?
All right, Trav. So I got a question for you. Okay. All right. So, I think that what a lot of people miss in these periods of stress and inflection is that, the housing market has a very seasonal trend. And when you look at the average going back, even during the GFC, the worst years of the GFC, we had home prices increase and we had sales increase, throughout the year. So what do you think, though, is driving kind of the current demand in the housing market. And as you were kind of highlighting, it's from the upper 20% for sure, right?
Well, I mean, I think it's a combo of things, Melody. I think it's predominantly that upper 20%, but I still think that there's foolish purchasing. I think that, you're still going to get people that have money. You're still going to get people that make money and that listen to Dave Ramsey, listen to CNN, and they're going to say nothing's wrong with the housing market. And even though their debt to income ratio may be 50%, they may have credit card debt, they may have car loans, they're still going to buy because they don't care the same way we care.
Travis, an observation, something you said very early on in your presentation, you mentioned move up buyers, which is not a phrase I hear very often, but when you mentioned it and you worded it that way, it really fell into place because that kind of is the broken link in the chain of the housing market. The more I've been thinking about this while you were talking, the move up buyers won't sell the rate, right? Think of your first time home buyer who bought a home in 2017 through 2022. Maybe they refied at that lovely 2.5% rate we were getting when interest rates were all the way down. Now, those people have reached that point in their life where they would probably be buying their next home, right? They've got another kid or two now. They need the extra bedroom, or maybe mom and dad are moving back in with them, caring for an elderly parent, which is becoming more common. They need more space, but they can't afford the bigger house now. They don't want to give up that 2.5% rate because a slightly bigger house will be a much bigger payment for them. And that's really the broken chain. Who's really suffering there, besides that family that's now stuck in the smaller house, is who they would typically have sold their current house to, the first-time home buyer. And that's really the victim in this market here, because if the move-up buyers aren't moving up, then their house isn't going up for sale, and there's no inventory for the first-time buyer. And that's why we're seeing the median prices rise, because the entire bottom half of the housing market is just iced out. They've just been pushed out here. And if people don't move up, which they're not going to do until mortgage rates come down, then there's no room for the entry-level home buyer. And that's really who's suffering here, isn't it?
I mean, I think everyone's suffering, Jack. I think the 80% of people are suffering, whether they're renters. It doesn't matter when they bought. And the point I'm trying to make is, the argument is the existing homeowners pre-quantitative tightening, they don't have any incentive to sell, right? They're like, oh, they're not going to sell. They can't afford to. And I'm like, they can absolutely sell, especially if they have cash money, because if they are drowning in debt, new debt, right? Or if they did a cash out refinance, they will have no choice. And people are like, well, if rent's more money, then where will they go? I don't care. They will go somewhere if they cannot afford to live in a house. I've seen it happen in Texas. Texas is in Houston, one of the most affordable places to live. But when things get bad, people leave. I don't know where they go.
They consolidate with their family. Yeah, they consolidate.
Yeah, I mean,
we're seeing that happen. Yeah.
And that's what I did when I lost everything. I consolidated and I lived with my sister to rebound. And I think that there is a premise for the golden handcuff, the low rates, because those homeowners did lose purchasing power like the rest of us. But again, as we hold the quantitative tightening, as we hold what's going on, that cushion is evaporating. And so do you guys have any more comments? And I'm going to throw some. So we got some comments here. Any viewers have any comments about that last portion before we move on? Okay, looks like here's one. Let's see. We got Johnny. I love Johnny. That's my boy. I stayed with him when I went to Sacramento. He's upset at me, you guys, because his dog, Logan, loves me more. This is his comment. If people are concerned with the rates we currently have are historically average. Good point, Johnny. This is a chance they continue to go up. So lock in these great rates now. If they drop, just refinance. So Johnny's a bit of a troll, but he's on our side. He believes what we're saying. He says things like this. I don't know why, to get a reaction. But do you want to comment on that, either of you two?
I'll take a crack at this one. I can always refinance, right? I mean, that's one of those classic quotes from The Big Short, right? When they're at the gentleman's club. Oh, but Todd says I can always refinance, or whoever the loan officer was about her 5 houses in her condo. No, you can't always refinance, because remember, the price is important too. And if you're underwater on your mortgage, you're not going to be able to refinance your house, at least not without bringing a lot of cash to the table. And, if you're buying one of these places right now thinking, don't worry, I'm just going to refi in a couple of months when the Fed lowers rates, the Fed does not control mortgage rates. They can influence them, but they don't directly control it. And it's entirely possible that the Federal Reserve loses control of the long end of the yield curve when they start lowering the short end, especially if inflation expectations start rising again, which right now they are. So that whole "we can always just refinance," man, famous last words, that's going to be carved on a lot of financial tombstones, I think, in the near
Or
future.
date the rate. Yeah, it was date the rate.
And Melody, I have one more here. We got a couple minutes, but if you would, Melody, what are some solutions here to bring back balance other than the consumer awareness? I'm going to say it starts with people being aware of their current budget, how they're spending money, their own education. It does start there. But RL is saying, get corporations out of housing, no more foreclosure bailouts. What else can we do, Melody, to keep it balanced and fair?
Well, because our Congress is completely deadlocked, we can't really look to them for any solutions. So the best that we can do is be cognizant of the way that we use our dollars. And I know people have heard me say this before, but every dollar is a vote. Like, we have control of how we spend our fiat currency. And so let's be intentional about it. Let's be thoughtful. Like, when we saw Starbucks come in with lower results, I really wish it was because everybody woke up and made better decisions, but in reality, it's because they likely couldn't afford it. But that, guys, we don't need to pay a lot of money for sugary drinks that don't do anything for our health. So instead, let's okay, Trav, yeah,
Sorry.
Don't get me started on what you just drank, but. Okay. But honestly, just making a few different decisions every day. And I know, again, I don't like to sound like a teacher, but honestly, what I'm doing right now, I'm planting a garden. We've been hard at work on this the last couple of weeks, but I'm doing that because, every time I go to the grocery store, it is just unbelievable. And even if I have the dollars to actually spend it, I don't want to spend that kind of money on food, and these types of or services. So to me, we do whatever we can. We get involved locally. We help our neighbors. And when it comes time, we're going to have to vote. Now, a lot of people say it won't matter. And maybe, maybe that's true, but let's do what we can control. And so if you don't participate, you become you are then in the strike. You are supporting the buyer seller strike, which at this point, the sellers are the ones that need to wake up.
All right, I'm going to do one more comment, you guys, and then we'll move on to the next story. Now, this is a good comment. This one's going to be Jack, Melody, if you want to take it. But this person, people still don't understand that people can get into debt, Jack. They don't get that yet. And I'm not saying this comment because I'm going to throw another overlay, but record number of airline travelers yesterday. Oh my gosh, everything should be great, right? Because debt's not going up. And income's going up and debt's not going up. Savings. So this is great. This party will never end. And that's not at you, Vita, by the way. The more debt we have, the more people spend. What am I missing? And then we got one more comment from this guy must be a financial planner. This guy, he must be a college graduate right here. You are not missing anything. We're not making any sense. So Jack, can you help can you help him understand how things work?
Which one was that? The thing about the travelers? Is that the?
Yeah. So people are still spending like crazy.
Okay.
So my impression and comment like this, people are still spending crazy. So the party still is going, right? So
I would really question this statistic, first of all. Now, Gigi just got back from a business trip and she said the same thing. The airport, Chicago Midway was packed, absolutely packed. So there's some truth to that. Anecdata supporting it. That being said, what the airlines are doing right now, I think one of the reasons why it seems like the flights are so full is the airlines are not ordering planes. They're canceling orders for planes because it's raining Boeing parts. Maybe a good time to invest in a Kevlar umbrella. Just throwing that out there. So fewer planes, fewer flights, more crowded flights. So I think there's a little bit of misleading information out there about the traveling. We did see a huge surge in traveling last summer, led to some big consumer spending. Things like Swiftonomics. I hate that phrase, but it was thrown around so much last year that Taylor Swift was driving all this travel spend. It's looking like, based on what the airlines are planning right now, that won't be the case this summer. So I have seen that momentary surge that we saw this weekend, but you know what? It's Memorial Day weekend, so you're going to see that. The question is what happens through June, July, and all indicators right now are a big slowdown in travel for this summer.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and end this part of the story. Do you want to add anything else, Melody, before we end?
I'm good.